around for those of you who want to do this. Who has YouTube on their phone? Okay, if you go to YouTube and you pull up the YouTube channel, Davis County Conservatives, you will be able to see the slides that go along with what he's saying. If you want. You don't have to. But apparently the slides are really good, so we are really trying to work it out. But Jen Dredge, where are you? So you could potentially start, and they can keep working on it, right? Because you don't have a slide.
I do, but they can go and look. I have mine memorized, but I
Okay.
can put it up here so that.
So you have one too. All right. So if you want to see the slides, go on YouTube. The live stream has not started. Oh, yes, it has. Okay. So if you're on the live stream, you can pull that up and you can follow along. Okay.
They'll be on the YouTube channel. Yeah. All right. So. Okay.
Yeah, we'll get. All right. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and I'm going to ask Janice. Oh my gosh, I can't think. What? Martin.
Call me Kavanaugh. It's
Yes,
Martin. Yeah. My maiden name. Our dear Father in heaven, we're so grateful that we can be here tonight and for the information that's been prepared to share with us, and thankful for the opportunity to learn. And we ask that thou bless our presenters, that they will have thy spirit to be with them, and that thou will bless each of us, that we can take this information into our lives and use it for good and help to inform our family and neighbors and our community also. And we ask these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Okay, so I'm thinking this is going to need to be raised a little bit, but I have no idea how to do that. Oh. Okay. Just a couple of things. I'm Tina Horlocker, and I'm the chair of the Davis County Conservatives. We are a PAC. We have a board. If you're a board member, will you raise your hands? And isn't it embarrassing that I could not remember Janice's last name, and she's on my board? So I'm very sorry about that, Janice Martin. All right, so we've got Jen Garner, Becky Hope, Janice Martin. We'll probably have some others coming. So thank you for coming. How many of you, this is your first time attending one of our events? Okay, so I know why you're here, but tell me how you found out about it. I'm very interested in this question. Right next door. Okay. Okay, awesome. How about back here? Who is new back here? How did you find out about it? Jennifer. Okay, back here. Email. Okay. We so much want to fill up this hall. The purpose of the Davis County Conservatives are first and foremost to educate our citizenry of things that are important, that really you're not really being made aware of it anywhere else. I mean, you can be on certain podcasts and you can find out, but it's always better to be in person. I feel like, plus we have a real local flavor to what is going to be discussed today. So some real application. So in person, plus I also feel like when you come and you're in person, we're building a community, right? Did any of you attend the We Can Act Liberty Conference? Anybody in this room? Okay, so that was a really awesome event in the middle of COVID. And one of the best things about it that people, it was at the Salt Palace, told me was that it just kind of built this community of people that were very like-minded. So that is really what we want to do. We want to build a community of people who can relate to one another, who understand what's going on, because a lot of people have no idea what's going on right around them. So we're here to educate you. We are never going to waste your time. We are always going to have topics that are relevant to you and very important. And so we ask you to come back the second and fourth Thursdays, 6:30 p.m. right here. Although I know Pastor Bickle said we're going to be out here one of those days. I can't remember which one. In the building in the back. I can't remember which Thursday that's going to be, but this is where we are, second and fourth Thursdays. Please put it on your calendar. And next time you come, will you please invite people? We try so hard to get people here. And there's a list going around. Please put your name and email on that if you're first time, if this is your first time, and you're number 2. Okay, let's see. So the second purpose that we have is that we are always looking for people to run for political office. This is a big deal. This is the year when we are electing city council members and all of those kind of positions. And I can't tell you how many mayors went unchallenged, how many city councils went unchallenged. And the things that they're doing in the cities right now is atrocious. All the high density housing, the things that's going on with our water, the state usurping the authority of the local communities. It's a very, very big deal. So we are constantly trying to find people who are willing to run for political office in all positions, and we want to help them. And lastly, we are about mobilizing people. There are times when we have reason to come together and support people or to support causes, and when there's more of us, we have more power, right? So I really, really want to impress upon you the need to come to these events. Just tell your children or bring your children, because really your children should know these things too, and there's no way they're finding them out in schools. Okay, so there's that. Then I want to help you all to be aware that on the week of September 17th, which is Constitution Day, and there is a fabulous event. Everybody should have the flyer now. If you don't, I have extras of the Freedom's Light Festival, which is at the Bountiful Park, the Bountiful City Park. It's an all-day event, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's colonial time period. They have lots of stations where you will listen to people who are dressed up and portraying a certain person or displaying different ways that they did things during that time period. It is an amazing, amazing opportunity to go and learn and be inspired about our forefathers. All right. Our first speaker tonight we have is Jen Dredge, and Jen is extraordinarily knowledgeable on this topic and many other that involves things that are going on in Utah. And a lot of it has to do with corruption. So she's going to talk to us first, and then we're going to have Jacob Johnson speak after that, and I will let you introduce Jacob. Okay, so thanks for coming, everybody.
Okay, here we go. Okay. All right. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the history a little bit, just touch on it briefly of how Utah got where it's going. Okay, sorry. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to do. I think I'll do it like this so that I can see my. Anyway, a little bit of the history. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it, but a little bit so that you know why they're saying, for example, Utah is going to be the AI hub, why we're ushering in the fourth industrial revolution, and those kinds of things so that you can understand how we got here. And then after that, I'll kind of dig into the meat and the bones from my presentation. So the difference, just so that you guys kind of know what's coming up, Jake's going to get into the Internet of Bodies, cybernetics, neurological, all that AI stuff. I'm going more local, right, with what's happening in Utah, and then also the more human side of it, if that makes sense, okay? All right, and again, just to remind anybody who came later, if you go onto YouTube, that's where you can see the slides. Unfortunately, they're not connecting, which is kind of funny since this is a tech. But anyway, so yeah, you can go on YouTube to the Davis County Conservatives YouTube and view the slides there, okay? Davis County Conservatives. It's on the live, so go to live. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, and I have to move them around, and she's going to have to move them around. So let me. Yeah, she's going to have to follow me. So, All right, so the first thing that I want to tell you, and go to slide 7. So the first thing that I want to tell you is Utah, back with the 2002 Olympics, a lot was done actually at the games that I don't think Utahns are aware of, a lot of agreements and different things like that. There were 2 military documents found. They're on UtahFreedomCoalition.org's website. There's 2 military documents found that went over sort of having to change Utah's culture, its independent culture, and get it to be more collaborative and compliant in order to roll out a national surveillance system that kind of came in under the Olympics. And if you guys have paid attention to Rocky Anderson, who was mayor at the time, anyway, Rocky Anderson has a lawsuit. I think it's still sitting there waiting, suing because they did a dragnet all over Salt Lake County without anybody's consent or knowledge. They were just collecting data without anyone knowing. And he didn't find out until many years later. So I think he filed the lawsuit in 2015. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was around then. So a lot of things got kind of started heavily in 2002, but it goes back even further. So if you know about the internet program, it was the Department of Defense with Berkeley and then the U of U. The U of U was the 4th node on the internet system, which was, again, with the Department of Defense. So it kind of lets you know where that was going, right? And then fast forward to 1994. It was Governor Mike Leavitt, and he and another governor got together and they created Smart Utah. So, you know, when you got your smartphones, your smart states, your smart cities, that was Smart Utah. So Smart Utah was the first. And then because he was head of the National Governors Association, he went and talked about it because he was very excited about it, and got a bunch of, he got all the governors to sign on to a smart system. And so it got called Smart States, and then it got codified by Obama. So we have Smart States, that was in, I think, 2015, that got codified. And the reason I want to make sure that you're looking on YouTube if you can, Oker Institute was launched, so they say it was launched at the Olympics, and he had 4 goals. So, and I say Leavitt because it seems like it was majority Leavitt, but there's a lot of people, right, with Oker Institute. The 4 goals, one was digital governance, so technology, that kind of thing, and then another was health and genetics, and then environmental, and the 4th was education. So those were the 4 goals that we needed to, you know, transform, and move them into the future. Yeah, so it was health and genetics, technology, so digital governance, education, and environmental. And if you know about Leavitt, after he was our governor, he got moved up to the EPA. He was head of the EPA for 2 years, from 2003 to 2005. And then he got moved up to Health and Human Services from 2005 to 2009. And so that just kind of gives you an idea of where that's going. And then he also has Leavitt Partners and Karen Alliance. Karen Alliance is heavily pushing digital ID, whether you agree with that or not. That's something they're pushing. And they believe in sort of this merging of, it's One Health. Sorry, it is, but One Health, where you're putting everything under the health system, okay? So that just kind of gives you an idea of how we got here, right? It's just a brief kind of history on that. Yeah. Oh, you can't, they still can't see the slides, just so you know. It says that you're...
Every now and then the slide shows up, but it's showing his presenter view, which isn't a full slide, so nothing's legible.
So you can't read it. Okay. Well, and on a phone, yeah. Tina, after I'll send it to you so that you can send it out if people want it. And if you want the links, I'm happy to send all the links so that you guys can read them. Because one of the slides that you probably can't read is, I call it the Kinzer paper, but Defending Utah is reported on the Kinzer paper. And actually, Defending Utah has a series on Smart Utah, just so that you know, it's like a 7-part series on it. so you can read all through it, because they broke it down into these different sections so that you can read through it. But the Kinzer paper, I think if I remember right, it's about 200 something pages long. And that's basically a student did a thesis more or less on Mike Levitt's system on the digital governance. And so it's quite a read. And that's one of the slides in there that you're seeing. Well, that you can't read yet, but I can send the link. Sorry, I'm going through here. So I'm going to quote one part of that paper just to kind of give you guys, again, the goal. It was, let's see, Levitt inaugurated a business-government partnership called Smart Utah, a big idea that would jumpstart Utah into the information age, providing Utah citizens and businesses a sustainable competitive advantage in the rigorous global marketplace. Okay, so that's another thing I wanted to highlight. Utah has been trying to be global for quite a while. Hence why we have the World Trade Center Utah, right? We now have Crossroads of the World conference coming. UVU has the United Nations conference that it did in 2019, and they have the youth conferences going on. So Utah is moving into a very, very global center, okay? Just so that you kind of know where that's going. All right. Now, the next thing is, and I'm going to quote, this is again Mike Levitt, and this is recent. So we're going all the way through up to after 2020. So state leaders don't want to get behind the ball on artificial intelligence. And that can be good and bad, right? Because if you've got China, for example, who's accelerating AI as a weapon, possibly or not, right? Then where are we with AI? So I just want to make sure people are kind of thinking on different levels here, right? It can be a good and a bad thing. But here's where my question comes in. Do the cons outweigh the pros, or do the pros outweigh the cons? So we have people committing suicide because ChatGPT talked them into it. We have people leaving spouses for not humans, for robots, right? A made-up program. We have children who are having mental health crises who are now addicted to all sorts of things, right? AI and other things, as you can imagine. And I don't know if you saw what Elon Musk just rolled out. If you haven't, you should. He has a character called Annie, and then there's a male character, and they are, it's pretty gross, frankly. It's pretty gross. So we just have to, I think as humans, we have to start asking the question, are we putting ourselves out of a job? Are we destroying our economy? Are we, destroying our children for an arms race? These are just questions we need to ask. And then the next thing that I think needs to be asked is, and I don't see enough fervor on it. I'm going to be honest. I don't see enough people this concerned about it. We're all very concerned about our First Amendment, as we should be. Second Amendment, as we should be. Your Fourth, your Fifth, all of those are just as important. Your privacy to your own data is extremely important. And I just don't see anyone caring enough, not anyone, but a lot of people just, it kind of goes over the head, right? Because we're so used to it. Because we've been frog in a boiling pot. We've been taking pictures of ourselves, putting them everywhere, right? We're so used to being surveilled that we've now gotten used to it. And we're not asking the questions of what is this doing to our society, right? And we have lost connection with each other. Humans are not interacting with each other. What happens when humans stop interacting with each other? You're no longer compassionate. You don't, take the time to understand one another. Yeah, there's no, it's just the community's breaking down. So people go, what the heck's happening? How did we get here? It's like overnight. What is going on? It's like the world's gone crazy. It didn't happen overnight. We've been sitting in a pot being boiled, right? And it's been going that direction. And we have allowed it to go that direction. And then the thing that I keep hearing is, well, it's too late. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. Okay, so we're just going to walk off the cliff? Is that what we're doing? We're just walking off the cliff? To me, that's not an excuse. That's absolutely not an excuse. I think it's a cultural issue. Our culture got changed into the mess that it is over a long amount of time. It's going to take time to get it back. but we have to get our culture back focused on the principles of freedom and free will, right? Free will. The more that you try to legislate what people can and cannot do, the further you're getting away from free will. And you might think it's the best thing ever. So I'm going to use some social media bills, and this is going to be controversial, especially in Utah. People keep trying to control access to social media, and we're getting tied down. I don't know if you're all aware, but about 5 bills have been passed in Utah so far. So that are just slowly locking that down. But the thing is it or is it not the town square? Is social media not where people talk? Right? So if you lock that down and you have to require biometric data, right, or digital ID, these things to access the town square, you're already censoring, right? We are asking the government to parent our children. That's not the direction we want to go. I totally understand. We have a major problem with, I won't say it because it's YouTube, but corn and those kinds of things, right? And children accessing that. But again, there's already rules in place, actually laws in place in Utah for that. And also, again, parenting. How is your children accessing that all the time, right? We have problems in our public schools too, right, with things that are being taught. But how are your children accessing this? We have, again, removed our connection from each other. We should be spending time with our children. We should be out spending time with the community. What happened to block parties? I grew up with block parties and night games and all that stuff, right? Where is that interaction? We've lost it. And so the more that we do this, who do you turn to and rely on? Who do people go to when they're not connecting, when they've been cut off from their family? They're told to cut them off. We don't agree. We're not politically aligned or whatever it is. I cut you off. And we're cutting off our communities, so churches, you're cutting off your neighbors, all these things. Where do you turn? Most people eventually turn to the government, right? Who are people asking for help even now? It's the government. And we should be joining as community and saying, hey, if you've got a problem and you need help, we're here to help you, right? That's where we should be going. The other scary thing that I really want to highlight to you guys, and it is happening in Utah. Utah is a pilot state. I hope Utah is piloting a lot of things that I find questionable. A lot of things that are very questionable. One of the things we are piloting is One Health. We are piloting that. So you know how all the countries freaked out about the WHO's One Health? Oh my gosh, it's going to take sovereignty away. Utah is piloting it. One Health. So, and we've been doing it, I think, since 2022. Why are we doing that? It's merging earth, people, animals into One Health. So the way that it's viewed, yeah. Whoa, sorry, no, you're fine. One Health is merging, so it's merging planet, or Earth, right? Your planet, your environmental, and then animals and humans all together under one health system. And so it's a health system. So for example, it's controlling, what happened with COVID, right? That's supposedly from a bat in Wuhan, all that, the Wuhan lab, bat, all that, that's an animal. We now have to control all of that going on. And if you've noticed, there's a lot of news reports of viruses and outbreaks and things happening. And I can send you more information specifically on it. And actually, if you guys want, just write this down so you have it, but it's utahgovreport.org. They have a whole section on that. Yeah. Yeah, it will be eventually. I mean, everything will go under One Health. So you're hearing, I'm sure now, you're hearing behavioral health, social determinants of health, whole person care. Yeah. Yeah, utahgovreport.org. So, and it's just, again, they're frog in a boiling pot, right? We're just moving slowly over to this. But if you go to, I forget the website, but it's Utah. It's when you're a business and you're trying to register, you now have to have a Utah ID, and that's not your driver's license. So what is that? That digital ID? What is it? Utah's, Well, yeah, a lot of people do, right? If you're, yeah, the star. Well, that's Real ID. Yeah. So, which we'll get to in a little bit, because, so here's the problem, and I say this because there's a lot of good people that don't fully understand what they're putting in place. They're being told how awesome this is going to be. Tech is the future, and then again, an arms race, right? We have to have. I mean, how do you have a workforce if they don't know how to use technology, right? Moving into the future, there's a lot of concerns. I think, again, we've gotten too far away from the very basic question, which is, are we actually protecting human beings, or are we setting up a new world for machines and transhumanism, right? Because I don't see a lot of effort being put into helping human beings, right? So when they say tech jobs, well, we now know what's happening with tech jobs, right? AI is just slowly taking those over. If you were a developer or graphic design or any of that, you're starting to lose that job. So to me, if we were actually investing in humans and trying to protect the human race and make sure that our economy is good for human beings, we would be pulling in manufacturing. You know, we would make sure that we have farming going on, right? Things that are critical to our survival as a species, we would be making sure that those jobs were being pushed. And I don't see that in Utah, just to be honest. I'm not saying that none of them are trying to. I think we have a lot of good people that are trying to figure out, to be fair, it's a monster that we're dealing with, right? It's like we've let Pandora right out of the box, right? So to get that wrangled back in is a feat, right? And how, again, do you protect the country, the state, et cetera, against foreign problems, right? But I will say this, I think we've made some major errors and we better get them fixed. Utah has installed smart meters. I understand the reason for them. I understand it's digital, it's easier, all the stuff. The problem is that is critical infrastructure. You have put digital smart meters on critical infrastructure, energy and water. Energy and water. If I were a hostile government, I know where I'd hit first, right? Don't y'all know where you'd hit first? So, yeah, so to me, that's not worth, for example, when they say, oh, well, it's cheaper because we don't have to go out and check it, we don't have to have a person. It's not worth the trade-off. Again, and I'm talking as a whole, not just Utah, as a country, as a people, as a global community that they like to say, right? Global community. We have jumped ahead without looking at the pitfalls, at what the cons are, right? And to me, these cons are massive. And again, lots of good people trying to work on stuff and fall into the trap because they don't know what they're voting for, right? They think that they're doing good. So with that, Representative Doug FIFA, I hope I pronounced his name right. He's a newer rep, but he was, I think, tweeting every day when the big, beautiful bill was going on. He was like, no, we are not passing this AI legislation in this big, beautiful bill. Because they were giving it free liability, like what they've done with pharma, where we have no recourse to sue them, et cetera, right, all that. So he was fighting that every day. And he also got a bill through Utah to kind of set some guardrails up, against, well, I don't want to say against, but guardrails up dealing with artificial intelligence. So, and I appreciate that, and I think, and with his background, he's a good one to work on that. Doug FIFA. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Is that FIFA? Anyway, and he's a newer one. I think he's been in there 1 year, 1 to 2 years, yeah. Anyway, so we do have some that can see, the problems, but you also have a lot of legislature up there, in my opinion, that don't fully understand tech or digital, or really what like the Internet of Bodies, the Internet of Things are, those kinds of things. And so they're agreeing to things because, again, it sounds cool, it sounds economical, and they're just doing it, right? I think there needs to be a heavy, heavy discussion of, wait, hold on a minute, and where are we going? And do we really want to go there? Sorry, I've got to scroll through some of my slides and then. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, to the AI? There is discussion of that, yes. So she asked if they're trying to give AI human rights, basically. And there is conversation about that. And I think that's where it's going. When you have people creating humanoid robots, I think we're headed to some scary times. And then I watched an interview. It was great. It was the Diary of a CEO. And I'll send Tina the link because I can't remember. He interviewed two gentlemen that are neuro, that deal with the brain, all of that, and development. And they're all highly concerned. And he said, he's like, my brain almost can't tell when it's human or not. Like, what if my brain slips, right, and thinks I'm talking to a human. And then I have to be like, no, wait, I'm not. And so that is extremely concerning, right? Because again, people are building bonds with an inanimate object, a thing, right? Not a human. And so, and you know, AI is lovely. It's not going to tell you it hates you today, right? It's not going to say, I don't want to clean my room today. Or, you know what, honey, I don't want to pick that up today, right? It's not going to tell you that it's mad. It's going to give you everything you want and tell you how awesome sauce you are and that it loves you and all of that. So it's all surface and fake. And the biggest thing that concerns me is, I'm sure you've heard of the United Nations SDG goals, 17 of them. There is an 18th that's being discussed. There's a few different versions of it. But the one that I noticed them talking about the most is space. And at first when I was looking at it, I'm like, are they talking about outer space? Like we're going to control outer space now too? Like we're going to, and they do have treaties, just so that you guys know, they have treaties for outer space. But I sat there and I thought, no, I don't actually think they're talking about that space. I think they're talking about virtual space. I think they don't want us living in reality. The more you can confuse people and get them so removed where they can't tell truth from lie and they don't have a base to rely on, which is a family, right? And I'm sure if you guys have looked, the fertility rates have just been plummeting, right? So we're not having kids like we used to. So the family unit is getting broken further and further. So who do people, again, rely on when they're lonely or suicidal or depressed and those things? It'll be the machine. So again, we just have to be really, really careful. And then Utah, I talked to a lot of different tech people across the country, and I had sent them our digital state website for Utah, and they said it's about the worst one they've seen. So we're really far down this road. It's digital, I think it's digitalstate.gov for Utah. I can't pull it up on here, but it's on the slide that I've got for YouTube, but I'll send it to you. So anyway, yeah, and it does say, just so that you're all aware, because remember, our governor said he didn't know what smart cities were. That's right there on that website. It's been there the whole time. Yeah, so it says smart cities, smart states, been there. So I find that a little hard to believe. I think we know what smart cities and smart states are, especially when Smart Utah, you know, kind of created that mess for America, in my opinion. Now, something that you may or may not have noticed with Utah, we are, I think, the furthest down the transportation, digital transportation movement. So we are working with V2X, which is vehicle to vehicle. Your car will be your most surveilled item in the future, just so that you know, 16 cameras plus. Yeah, and Utah actually, back in 2017, had with the federal government website, and I can again send that, but digital highways. And Cox did talk about that in a video from, I think, 2018 or 2019. So digital highways, Utah's transportation plan, I highly, highly suggest, because I'm going to have to wrap it up in a minute here, but I highly suggest that every single one of you go and look at the transportation plan for Utah. And they passed the bill, it's SB 125, to electrify our entire transit system. Well, who's going to be monitoring the roads? And if you have electric cars, can your car be shut down remotely? If there's a lockdown, what happens if you decide you're not going to comply? Think you're going anywhere? You're not going anywhere. So it's critical that Utahns understand that transportation system because we are very far down that road. And Burgess Owens, who again, I'm not saying is a bad guy. I think he's a lovely person, but he was speaking to our federal government, at a hearing and telling everybody how awesome Utah's transportation model is and that they should all be copying it. So I think that's a concern. So anyway, I'm just going to end with this. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. I'm just going to put this so that you guys can see it on the YouTube. It says AI Utah 100 2023 yearbook honoree list. And if you see that image, that's a pretty horrifying image. And then this, which is the Mormon Transhumanist Association in Utah. I don't think they're directly linked with the church. That's not what but that's their name of them, is Mormon Transhumanist Association. Humanity Transfigured. So it's quite alarming. You can read. It's the AI Utah 100 2023 yearbook honorary list. Yeah, they've spoken at it. Becky Edwards has, and yeah, and Allie Isom, yeah. Transhumanist Association, Mormon Transhumanist Association. So the other thing, there's a website called Utah News, either .com or .org. Oh, real quick, Utah News or utahnews.org or .com. I can't remember which. They have an article on there that's about energy and AI, and all of the energy that the AI will require, these data centers will require. If you think that your prices are going up, there's a reason they want them to go up 30% or higher, especially if they want Utah to be the AI data hub, right? So just keep that in mind. And then ask about water. We need to be asking about water. Yes, they do. Yep.
We're going to call it, we need to conserve, but it's actually, we need to take it.
Well, that's why I said we have to start caring about humans over machines, right? Humans should come first for energy and water, period, than machines and AI data centers. And again, I understand the military aspect of the AI data centers, but we need to have like an honest, truthful conversation. Go ahead, Jamie.
When the most powerful man in the world, just last week, he says we will be having universal basic income, UBI.
Yeah, Elon Musk.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, because if
UBI.
AI come in and the jobs are lost, they say that we'll be working about 10 to 15 hours a week. Then he also happened to talk about it's inevitable and we must progress to a multi-planetary consciousness.
Yep.
Which is basically the one world order. I mean,
Virtual. It's virtual.
It sounds so far right extreme conspiracy, I know, but it's just alarming. And you have to question when the most powerful man in the world is saying that. Universal, the consciousness is flipping countries pretty much upside down because it's saying, well, that's nice, it's how you live. We can have cultures like, yeah, you guys like tacos and we like, LDS, we're LDS culture in Utah, but basically they're going to have like a basic social way that we should all be behaving.
Well, yeah, and then, yeah, and the other thing that you guys need to know about, and I just put it up on the slide, Trump, and again, I'm not saying Trump is, bad, good, or otherwise. I'm just letting you know who did it. But Trump put an executive order out for accelerating federal permitting of data center infrastructure. And they're going to use the federal land my understanding, to do that. So think of how much accelerating federal permitting of data center infrastructure. So imagine Utah has almost 70% land controlled, right, by the federal government. So is that what we're using the land for? Questions, right? I don't know. Yeah.
I used to go to some John Birch Society meetings, and I really liked them. I found out that, I have a lot of the same feelings as they do. The big problem I had is the same problem I have with you tonight. And that is, if you told me the sky's falling.
I'm getting to
Now,
solutions.
Just a minute. And so I can agree that maybe the sky is falling. But you don't tell me how to fix it. You don't tell me what to do about it.
Well,
And so, well, just a minute. So you need to know about this. You need to go look at this site. You need to do this. And what it comes down to is that I cannot do anything about all the things that you talked about tonight.
I disagree.
I can't do anything about it.
Yes, you can. No, I disagree. We all can do something about it. Are we living? Are we alive? Can we make actions? Can we make choices? No, I'm serious. Don't comply. How do you think we got the situation with the lockdowns finally lifted? Enough people were pushing back. I'm not a black pill person, so you can be black pilled all you want, but that's not where I live. Because if I live there, then what are we even doing? Then what are we doing here? So no, my thing is you get off the grid. Get off the grid. And I know that sounds really hard and crazy, right? It means you have to put your smartphone down and walk away from your smartphone. Hold on. It means that you go outside, you start planting your garden, you start interacting with human beings again. That is what off the grid means. Is it a pie in the sky? Possibly, right? Because the whole world has to start getting on board. But if no one does it, if we all just keep going with this, nothing will ever change. The next thing, as I told you guys about, we have to start caring about our Fourth Amendment rights. Where are the lawsuits? Where are the lawsuits? Why are not massive class action lawsuits from Utah happening? What is going on? We're just letting this, where are they? The next thing is, don't comply with digital ID or real ID, right? Say, no, I'm not going to let you sit here and scan my face when I go through the airport. I'm not letting you give me a digital ID.
I went to the airport and I didn't want a digital ID, so I went and specifically paid for a passport.
Yes.
They made me put my passport into the scanner, and then I still had to stand there, and they had to do this.
Don't put it in the scanner. No, that's how they trick you. They say put it in the scanner, and then once you put it in the scanner, they go, oh, there's nothing we can do. You're too far in. No, you tell them no. Yeah, no, that's how they tell you to put it in the scanner. And the moment you put it in the scanner, then they go, oh, it's too late. We can't. You have the right to opt out of the facial scanning. Yeah. No, I know. They know that. And is that honest? Is that transparent? Right. So why aren't we saying to the state legislature, no more of this? And by the way, transportation. People need to be paying attention to transportation. They're doing a lot of bad stuff. No, that's actually not true. You can opt out. No, you can opt out. You can. Yeah, you can opt out. Right now you can. If we keep complying, we won't be able to. Yeah, you can opt out. I'm just telling you can. Yeah. Yeah. There's a little sign. Yeah, you can opt out. So the next thing is, the other thing that I was going to say that you guys can start working on is bills, right? For sovereignty, for human rights. The other is start promoting the trade skills. Like I said, start promoting manufacturing, get farming back, stop giving up all of our agriculture land to high-density housing. No more of that. Start really making an effort to have barbecues, neighborhood engagements, things like that. Yeah, events, exactly, right? And then the other thing is help educate other people. Yeah. Then let's all just go home.
How many of you here go to city planning meetings?
Yeah.
Do you go to city council meetings?
How many
That's something
actual
you can
laws
do.
has
We
he
go
gotten
every
overturned?
week to our city planning meetings and our city what's going on in our city, and we are active, and we send out emails to try and educate people. To me, everybody can do something, whether it's on your phone, whether it's on your computer in your own home. You can educate your neighbors. We have cottage meetings in our neighborhood. We're in Kaysville. We have cottage meetings, so we invite the people that are running for mayor or city council, so we can sit with them and say, what do you think about this? What are your plans? We just have to get activated. We've just sat and assumed that who we're putting in office is on our side, and you find out they're not. But there's something everybody can do if we start thinking that way. What can I do? Have a cottage meeting, go to your meetings. Start somewhere.
Well, yeah, I mean, my thing is, guys, if you think there's nothing we can do, then where do you want it to go? Why am I even here presenting? I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just saying then what is the point of even researching or sharing the information or anything? We have to actually take accountability and start pushing back. How did we get to this point? We got to this point because we were all asleep. We were all asleep. We let it happen. And then all of a sudden 2020 happens for a lot of people. Other people woke up earlier. But 2020 happens and everybody's going, what the heck just happened? Well, it's not going to get better unless we make it better. Yeah.
I went to a presentation last night in Davis County at the library where a Holocaust survivor's daughter came and spoke. He was supposed to speak, but he is ill. So she spoke, and she said that his sister was able to, because she was blonde-haired and blue-eyed, lie, say she was Aryan, forge paperwork, and go to Hungary, escape to Hungary.
Right.
She said that all the people in Hungary, they thought that they were fine.
yeah.
They thought, oh, that's only happening over there in Poland. They're not going to come over here. And they did. Like, you never think it's ever going to come.
You never think it's coming to you.
But because we're the Beehive State, we're so nice and compliant, and we, have the stake pulled over our eyes.
Well, and just so that you know, this is my own personal opinion from all the research that I've done. I think the ultimate goal for Utah, for the globalists, is that we will be the civil society kind of hub. So you hear it all the time, the Utah way, collaboration, right? Merging, building bridges, all these things. And while that can be good, right? Building bridges, working together can be good, but not when we're on polar opposite and you want to burn the whole thing down and destroy it and take all of the free will away, right? So that's the thing I think, I hope Utahns start to realize, because they knew they could play that on us. Do you know what I mean? We're very trusting, compliant, nice people, and we want to do the right, good thing. Yeah, Prashana.
So first of all I keep hearing is you guys attack Jenny. You need to get to know her. She's 100% right about everything she says. So I understand that it's very right. So you need to slowly open your mind and be willing to listen to her, because she's not wrong. Once you listen and you learn, you will notice all of the signs, and you will notice how scary we are. It is so scary that if we are not careful, we will be what we do not want to be. So many people have been so comfortable with everything going on. They think we're safe. We think all of our legislators and all of our representatives don't care about us. They don't care about you.
No, we don't think that.
But I'm arguing with her, but just listen to what she has to say. She'd be more than happy to answer any other questions you have, because she has answered every single question I've ever had about anything.
Yeah, well, true. I will answer any questions, and this is a very quick presentation, right? Because we've got Jake coming up. Sorry, Jake coming up. And I don't mind. No, I don't mind. It's okay. But thank you. Yeah.
I think it's a really important, go ahead. I think it's important to remember that is exactly what they said during the Revolutionary War. We can't do it, we have no chance. Nothing great ever happened by the masses of people. Find me one thing in the world that ever happened because the masses got behind it. Everything great always happened by a small group of people who stood up and did something. We will not win this. We absolutely will not. We have never done anything great. We do our part, we stand in the trenches, and God makes up the difference. And that's all Jen is saying.
Yeah, I'm just trying to make awareness so that you guys understand, because the other thing, and then I'll call on you just real quick so that you guys can see it on YouTube, because I don't have enough time. But there's massive, on that article that I told you to go to on Utah News, There's a lot of big data centers being moved in. Another solution that I have for that is that we start saying, no, the water has to go to the people and the farmers, us first, not the data centers. Same with energy. And that's how you stop that, right?
You do know there's a data center out in Saratoga Springs.
Oh, yeah.
Security,
Yep.
they have a neighbor that works there, and they cannot say what they're doing.
Yeah, there's a lot of them being built. Yeah. Well, and Bill Gates is working with John Curtis with one of the, yeah. I feel that way too. Yeah. All right, go ahead. Yeah.
I was down in Richfield and southern that Monroe saying no more people going to move in because it was taking all of the ground
Yeah.
of the farmers.
Yep.
And we need to do that here.
Well, I agree. I think the aquifers have to be cut, like no aquifers. We cannot keep rerouting our water to the Great Salt Lake forever for lithium mining and other things, right? Like there needs to be an actual rational conversation about water because I don't feel that the state's having it. Right? Like we can't be building all this high density housing and yet have a water crisis. We can't be putting in chip manufacturing and AI data centers and all this stuff if we have a water crisis. Like where is the truth? I just want the truth. And then we can, once we have the truth, then we can find a solution from there. So that's, anyway, that's the basic. If you guys need any of the links, I have them. I'll also send Tina the PowerPoint so you guys can kind of scroll through there because there's a lot of other stuff on there that I didn't go through. And then Jake will be up, but I'll introduce you real quick. Jake Johnson, he's a heavy researcher, a techie kind of guy. He is with the Libertarian Party, and he ran, was it against Musselman? Yeah, Musselman, twice, yeah. Anyway, so he's going to come up. He's going to have the really, I'm sorry to say scary stuff, but he'll end it on some solutions, I'm sure, too. But it's Internet of Body, Internet of Things, cybernetics, the neuro information, kind of what's happening with the brain, and SB 129, which was a bill that was put in 2018. That's why we have 5G towers and all that stuff going on. Okay?
Now, going to our city council.
Going to our city council, we found out that our police department is using this, the AI. It's just a pilot program and it was only consent item, but you might want to know what your city policemen are doing. Just saying, might want to look.
Hi, everybody. Just a little bit taller. All right, so I think we figured out some of the tech issues. Should be able to see my presentation through YouTube anyways, and if anyone does want a copy of it, I'd be more than happy to send it to anybody. So the title of my presentation is MK Ultra and Cybernetics, the Shadows of Psychosurgery and Artificial Intelligence. So if you want to go to the second slide. Okay, so there's going to be about 5-10 second delay, I believe, is what it works out to be. So just real quick, a little bit about myself, who I am. My name is Jacob Johnson. I am a podcaster, investigative journalist, parapolitical researcher, and I have a focus specifically on MK Ultra and mind control. That's what I specifically focus on, although that's not the only thing that I do research. So I do host my own podcast, which is Rise to Liberty podcast. I used to cover third-party politics. That's, not of interest quite as much anymore. I think there's just more important things to focus on. Like Jen said, I am involved with the Libertarian Party, although I run communications for them. I've ran on the Libertarian ticket a couple of times. It was a really interesting learning curve, but it's probably not something that I will do again. I think running for office is great, but you know, libertarians aren't that great at winning office. So I am also a producer of a parapolitical call-in show. It's called Already Dead, and it's kind of like a commentary upon people who stood up against the state and, you know, paid the ultimate price for it. People like Gary Webb, who was an investigative journalist and exposed the crimes of the CIA. And ultimately, I am a radical liberty and privacy advocate. That is what I care about the most. I don't really care where it comes from. Liberty and privacy are the two most important things to me. Now, without privacy, there is no liberty, period. Liberty cannot exist without the privacy. So, like Jen was saying, the Fourth Amendment is of the utmost importance. Of course, all first 10 amendments of the Constitution is definitely of the utmost importance as well. Let's see here. So tonight, I really wanted to focus on a story that connects three seemingly unrelated things. And those three things actually are Nazi medical experiments, CIA mind control programs, and the smartphone in your pocket. This isn't fantasy or science fiction. This is actually based upon documented history, over 15,000 declassified documents obtained through FOIA requests. They were actually obtained back in the 70s and are fully available for anyone to go review. Anyone that wants to go look at them, they're there. So for about 70 years, from the end of World War II to today, there has been a continuous line of research aimed at understanding the human brain, not as the seat of consciousness or the soul, but as a programmable machine. Tonight, we'll trace that line from the surgical theaters of Yale University in the 1960s to the clean rooms of Silicon Valley today. The question isn't whether this technology exists. It does. This is a very real thing. The question is how did we get here, and what does it mean for the future of human consciousness and humanity itself? Now, the reason why this actually matters is to go so far back, because the hope is that by exposing these things, that they won't be able to do this again. Because yes, this happened over 70 years ago, 80 years ago, but there's so many people that don't know, and we need to know, so that way we can pick up on these things in the future. We can stop them from doing these things. It makes it harder for the people who have terrible intentions for us. All right, if you want to switch to the next slide. So first, let's get some definitions out of the way real quick. Are they not? Right, yeah, and they are on YouTube. Anybody that wants the presentation, I'd be more than happy to. Also, I will be doing another presentation with the full presentation. The delay, okay. If you want to, just keep it on the slides on YouTube, I guess. Okay, perfect. So let's get through a couple of definitions. So AI is an umbrella term encompassing a variety of technologies, including machine learning, deep learning, and natural language processing. Many disagree whether this constitutes actual artificial intelligence. AI allows computer systems to simulate human processes. Now, these technologies, such as machine learning, deep learning, and natural language processing, they mimic us, but it's not us, okay? That is what they are trying to do, is they are trying to copy us, but they can't. We are divine beings, created by our Lord. So they can't actually mimic that. So they are going to fail miserably, luckily for us. But that does not stop them from trying. So artificial intelligence is the theory and the development of computer systems capable of performing tasks that historically required human intelligence, such as recognizing speech, making decisions, and identifying patterns. AI, like I said, is actually an umbrella term. Let's see here. Although the humanoid robots often associated with AI, think Star Trek or Terminator T-800, these sorts of things, they don't quite exist yet. They are on the horizon, and they are not far off. You've likely interacted with machine learning powered services or devices. They're pretty much everywhere. Now, the problem with these is that they are only good as the information being put in to them. And unfortunately, the data is incredibly faulty being put into them. So I don't know about you guys, but I think it's kind of a bad idea to base our entire society on a system that's only as good as the information being put in, and the information's terrible. It just sounds terrible to me. Just to give you a couple of examples, ChatGPT uses language models, LLMs, to generate text in response to questions or comments posed to it. Google Translate uses deep learning algorithms to translate text from one language to another. Netflix uses machine learning algorithms to create personalized recommendation engines for users based on their previous viewing history. So these are the types of things that AI are being used for currently on the civilian side. They are being used for human targeting on the military side currently right now in different parts of the world. Now, where things get really scary is what's known as AGI, Artificial General Intelligence. Artificial General Intelligence refers to a theoretical state in which computer systems will be able to achieve or exceed human intelligence. In other words, AGI is true artificial intelligence. If or when AGI is reached, AI systems will basically become one, and it will be smarter than every living human being put together. And at that point, it starts raising some serious questions. If it's not aligned with us, then it has the possibility of taking us out. And that's a really scary proposition, in my opinion. As for the precise meaning of AI, researchers don't quite agree on how we would recognize true artificial general intelligence when it appears. However, the most famous approach to identifying whether a machine is intelligent or not is known as the Turing test, or the imitation game, an experiment that was first outlined by influential mathematician, computer scientist Alan Turing in the 1950 paper on computer intelligence. Turing described a three-player game in which a human integrator is asked to communicate via text with another human and a machine and judge who composed each response. If the interrogator cannot reliably identify the human, then Turing says the machine can be said to be intelligent. Now, there's a couple of terms that you might come across: strong AI versus weak AI. Strong AI is essentially an AI that is capable of human-level general intelligence, what we were just discussing. Weak AI, meanwhile, refers to the narrow use of widely available AI technology, basically any program that has an integrated AI today, so which is practically all of them. So just real quick before we move on from this, there are 4 types of AI. There are reactive machines, are the most basic type of artificial intelligence. Machines built in this way don't process any knowledge of previous events, but instead only react to what is before them in any given moment. You have limited memory machines, machines with very limited memory processes, which understand past events. They can interact more with the world around them than reactive machines can. For example, self-driving cars use a form of limited memory to make turns, observe approaching vehicles, and adjust their speed. There is also theory of mind machines. Machines that process a theory of mind represent an early form of artificial general intelligence. In addition to being able to create representations of the world, machines of this type would also have an understanding of other entities that exist within the world. As of this moment, this reality still is not materialized. Then you also have self-aware machines. Machines with self-awareness are the theoretical most advanced type of AI and would possess an understanding of the world, others, and themselves. This is typically what most people mean when they say AI. This is obviously what would concern all of us the most, especially if this is not aligned with us. So, to put simply, machine learning uses algorithms trained on data sets to create machine learning models, allowing computers to perform tasks like humans, but not humans. If you want to change to the next slide. So the next definition, and this will be a lot quicker, is cybernetics. Cybernetics is a transdisciplinary study of circular causal processes such as feedback and recursion, where the effects of a system's output return as inputs to the system, influencing subsequent action. What? To put it more simply, cybernetics is the science of communications and automatic control systems in both machines and living beings. So think Neuralink. It's a brain chip interface that connects directly into your brain, and it computes in between the brain chip and your brain. That is the study of cybernetics. It basically turns us into cyborgs, half human, half machine, and in my opinion, a crime against God, which is just terrifying to me. And if you want to switch to the next slide, the last definition to go through real quick, and this is kind of really the beginning of what we're going to be talking about, is MKUltra, is the basics. MKUltra, for anyone who does not know, is a clandestine operation or a secretive black operation that was spearheaded by the Central Intelligence Agency. It was illegal experimentation on humans, which developed procedures for mind control, psychological and physical torture, and behavior modification for individuals and the masses. It officially started 72 years ago. It was signed into operation by then CIA Director Alan Dulles on April 13th, 1953. Officially, it ended in 1973, and on the books ran for a period of 20 years. Yes, so it actually did never end, and it actually started much sooner than 1953. But this is what the official reports say. And she also exposed the existence of Operation Mockingbird as well, which is, you know, the media lying to all of us. And that also includes alternative media. So be very careful about who you actually listen to these days. So MKUltra started actually a little bit before this in 1945 with Operation Paperclip. Operation Paperclip was Nazi recruitment, which was slated as a secret U.S. intelligence program, which ended up seeing close to 1,600 former Nazis coming into the United States and being employed by our government, and they fully knew. These people, they were scientists, engineers, technicians, doctors. A lot of these men also brought their families as well. These Nazis included some of Adolf Hitler's closest collaborators, including men responsible for murder, slavery, human experimentation, and mind control. Many of these men came from the SS, but all of them were acquitted of war crimes and men who never stood trial at all. Some of the men included Dr. Theodor Benzinger, who had been on a list of accused at the Nuremberg trials, Kurt Debus, former V-2 rocket scientist and later director of NASA, and of course, Wernher von Braun. So these men were instrumental in the formation and the existence of the NASA space program and the subsequent space race that followed. Operation Paperclip turned into what is known as Project Chatter. And this was a United States Navy program beginning in the fall of 1947 under the direction of Dr. Charles Savage, who was appointed by Dr. Theodor Benzinger, who we had just discussed. It focused on the identification and testing of drugs for the use in interrogation and recruitment of agents. The search included laboratory experiments in both animals and humans. Yes. Project Chatter. Yes. And the reason why this happened is because it took them a little while to be able to actually get all of these Germans integrated into society, because they can't just, you know, bring them in and just say, good luck. You know, they actually put them in certain jobs, certain locations. They moved them all around the country, and entire towns were built specifically for these people. And the very first iteration of their programs after they were integrated was Project Chatter. And then, after everything started going its own way, everyone was integrated, then came along Project Artichoke. Well, actually it started as Bluebird, but Bluebird quickly changed to Artichoke. Why? I don't know. It's just the way that things happened. That one. So the slide that should be up right now is just MKUltra basics, and it will show a couple of pictures. Actually, it should show a picture of one of the groups of men that they brought over. Project Bluebird changed into Artichoke, and the reason why they called it Bluebird is because they had the intention of creating a truth-telling drug. That was the whole point, was interrogation. They wanted people to sing like a bluebird. So Project Artichoke, also referred to as Operation Artichoke, was a CIA project that researched interrogation methods and arose from Project Bluebird on August 20th, 1951, ran by the CIA Office of Scientific Intelligence. The project studied hypnosis, forced morphine addiction, and subsequent forced withdrawal, and the use of other drugs, among other methods, to produce amnesia and other vulnerable states in subjects. Artichoke was a program of mind control that gathered together the intelligence divisions of the U.S. Army, U.S. Navy, U.S. Air Force, and the FBI. In addition, the scope of these projects were outlined in a memo dated January 1952. This memo, this Maury document, which you can find, I have the document number if anyone is curious. But in this document it stated, can we get control of an individual to a point where he will do our bidding against his will and even against fundamental laws of nature, such as self-preservation? So they had every intention of causing the most absolute harm to people. So Artichoke turned into MK Ultra, and this is where we come to in April 13th, 1953. There were other programs associated with this. This was by no means just one isolated incident. There were programs such as MK Search, which was a successor program to MK Ultra. There was MK Delta, a related program that involved the use of MK Ultra developed materials, drugs, and chemicals, covert operations such as harassment, discrediting, and destabilizing individuals, meaning electronic harassment and nasty phone calls, letters, all sorts of terrible things. They actually have a term for it. It's called targeted individuals, which is a very likely thing if you do something like I do, trying to expose a lot of these things. There were also MK Naomi, which was a joint CIA Army project focused on biological, chemical, and radiological weapons. It also included hallucinogens like LSD and nerve agents such as BZ, often overlapping with MK Ultra, and that some of the testing actually took place here in Utah out at Dugway Proving Grounds. And of course there was Operation Midnight Climax, which I won't go into too much detail there, but they used women of the night to be able to manipulate men for information. And they fully did this, fully aware of what they were doing. They drugged the men, and they just wanted to see what it was. They videotaped it, recorded it, and the results of those tests are still classified today. MK Ultra was actually, it's an umbrella term, much like AI. It is an umbrella term for 149 sub-projects. The sub-projects were mostly identified by numbers, sub-project 2, 56, 70, rather than unique names. These sub-projects covered a wide range of experiments. This is how we know the testing included drugs, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and other behavior modification techniques. These tests were conducted at over 100 plus known institutions, including hospitals, mental institutions, prisons, universities, military bases, and even orphanages. Subproject 4, 15, and 19 were funding a contractor, a magician actually, to write a manual on various aspects of the magician's art, which could be used in covert operations. Subproject 23 was to synthesize new drugs and modify old ones. Subproject 29 was to fund work on hypnosis. The scope was increased to acquiring extensive psychological profiles of all subjects in an effort to develop significant keys to hypnotic susceptibility. Subproject 39 was to exploit the research of potential represented by a group of 142 criminal psychopaths confined to the Ionic State Hospital. The agency believed that patients had the same kind of motivation for withholding certain information that is comparable to operational interrogation situations. Subproject 77 explored the basic elements of two personalities, of not only two personalities, but theories set forth by David Saunders, and he attempted to integrate them. This is what is known as multiple personality disorder or dissociative identity disorder. Subproject 119, and this is where we get into tonight's subject really, is the activation of human behavior by remote means. A review of literature and scientific developments related to the recording, analysis, and interpretation of bioelectric signal from the human organism, or basically how to turn us into remote-controlled toys, in their view. If you want to switch to the next. Should be slide 7. It should be the Macy Cybernetics conferences. So the Macy Cybernetic conferences, and this is where we start getting into what we're actually seeing today. These conferences took place between 1946 and 1953. These were sponsored by the Josiah Macy Jr. Foundation. They were interdisciplinary meetings aimed at developing a science for the human mind through concepts like feedback mechanisms, reflexivity, and neural networks. One interesting thing that came out of this is actually the development of cell phone tower structures. What I mean by that is where they are placed. If you look at them above, they look like neural connections. And same thing with radar, all kinds of electronic technology. And the reason why this happened is because they figured that this was the best way to build these systems. The reason why is because it was created in our minds first. And it has been highly successful ever since. So, although these programs weren't necessary, or these conferences weren't necessarily meant as mind control or MK Ultra conferences, there were over 50 participants that went on to be MK Ultra contractors. So these people had every intention of carrying on what they were discussing in these conferences into the real world, and they did. They were very successful at it. Let's see here. So of course, a lot of these conferences covered mind control, behavior modification, and psychoactive drugs like LSD for interrogation and psychological manipulation. These connections primarily involve funding channels, shared participants, thematic overlaps in research on mind and behavior, and historical networks tying academic science to intelligence operations. Not for this. So, yes. Everyone does.
There is a video of Bill Clinton apologizing for MK Ultra.
Yes, the radiological experimentations. It happened in 1995.
Well, and there was, like, paperwork is on a .gov website, and so I'm like, crap.
Mm-hmm.
And the non-invasive brain reading stuff, there was an image, like the first time I heard of it, I'm like, okay.
Right.
But I did a search for Texas Instruments and brain, and they have non-invasive, and Texas Instruments is here in Utah. They are here in Utah, so I know nobody wants, it breaks the brain. I think there's gonna come a point we're going to need to be able to understand who we are, our spirits aligned with God, or whoever you believe in, and understanding the difference between deception and truth. We're all going to need to know that. And so this feels really, really deep, especially to me, who doesn't want to even believe that Bill Clinton acknowledged it, especially because anyway. But I think that even if this just plants a seed of the importance of understanding how to discern truth from deception. Sorry.
No, you're totally fine. One thing I do kind of want to piggyback off of that, I don't want any of this to be true. This is not something I enjoy. I don't like this. The reason I find it important is because this affects every single one of us. And let me tell you, it's incredibly boring to go through a lot of these documents. And I've spent countless hours going through this. Thank you. Thank you. So I did try to make this as entertaining as possible, but unfortunately, a lot of these people are incredibly boring people. Of course. So that was under MK Ultra, and it was Subproject 119. Yeah, there's a lot of these that have continued on. There's many of them, which we'll actually get to at the very end with the conclusion. So there was a lot of these conferences where they talked about things that they are doing today. Discussion on reverberating neural loops, which I didn't really include in a way to be able to explain this, but a reverberating neural loop is basically a positive feedback loop. It's what AI is. If you go interact with an AI model and you're nice to it, it will act nice to you. That's why a lot of people are developing such issues as, I believe they call it artificial intelligence psychosis, I believe. And they're experiencing a lot of really negative side effects because imagine if you just had a yes man with you 100% of the time and it never called you on any of the bad things that you were doing. And it just said, yes, this is great all the time, just constantly. And even if you propose a bad idea to it, it will still tell you it's a good idea. Right. Right. Exactly. And so that's what a reverberating neural feedback loop is. And they were talking about this in the 40s and 50s. Claude Shannon's information theory and Donald McKay's idea on meaning and observer roles influence views on perception manipulation, aligning with MK Ultra's use of drugs to distort reality for interrogation. The broader application of cybernetics has an emphasis on systems that control extended to social engineering, which is social media algorithms. Social media algorithms dictate what you see. And what Facebook learned in, I believe it was 2008, or a little bit after that, maybe 2010, I want to say, they learned that posts on Facebook or Instagram get more shares and more likes if it makes you angry. And so what they do is they control your feed. They control what you see and what you don't see, more particularly. And they do this to be able to get your emotions high. You stay on there longer, which is what they want because they earn ad revenue off of that. Because anyone that uses these social media programs, you are the product. They are taking your data and selling it to people. And they are also using these algorithms to learn who you are as an individual. That way they can manipulate you. And they figured out all of these things back in the 50s. And the very fact that we are seeing these play out in actual life right now is why I think this is so important to know. If you want to go to the next slide. So, just real quick on the participant overlaps between both MKUltra and the Macy cybernetic conferences. Based on historical records, several participants participated in the cybernetic conferences, which 46 through 53, and related precursor meetings had a direct or indirect ties to CIA's MKUltra program, 53 through 73 officially, which focused on all the topics we've talked about before: mind control, behavior modification, and psychoactive drugs. These connections often involve funding through the Josiah Macy Jr. Foundation. They also funded through the Human Ecology Foundation. You know, they would come in, they would infiltrate a university, set up a shell company, and the CIA would send funding to all sorts of researchers through a shell company. And so a lot of these researchers didn't even know where the money was coming from. Some of them did, though, and fully accepted it. So there's a man by the name of Harold Abramson. He's an allergist and a pediatrician, actually, or was. His role, Abramson, Abramson. His role in the Macy conferences is listed as a member or guest. He introduced LSD to many cybernetic groups in the 1950s, served as reporting secretary, participated in the 1955 Neural Pharmacology Conference, and he attended and helped fund the Macy-sponsored International LSD Therapy Conference. He was a key contractor in MKUltra, led sub-projects 7, 27, and 40. He received over $85,000 in 1953, funneled through the Macy Foundation to study LSD effects on unwitting hospital patients. Had no clue, did not give their consent. There's also other people like Gregory Bateson, was an anthropologist and systems theorist, was a core participant across multiple conferences, attended the 1942 Cerebral Inhibition Meeting. He discussed reflexivity, feedback loops, and behavioral patterns, received LSD from Abramson in 1959. His role in MKUltra was indirect involvement through the OSS, which is the Office of Strategic Services, the precursor to the CIA. He was a psychological warfare expert, which is about the scariest thing I can think of. So he was highly involved in early truth serum research, and he was involved in the Committee for National Morale, which, isn't that hilarious? So he has casual ties to the CIA, drug promotion, including arranging LSD for Allen Ginsberg, poet, you know, from the 60s, beatnik poet. After his own Macy-linked exposure, funded by the Macy Foundation for related work, later expressed ethical horror at deceitful methods that they used. And then you have Margaret Mead, who is an anthropologist, role in Macy conferences. Yeah, ladies, you don't get by on this one. There were women involved in this as well. So she attended the 1942 Cerebral Inhibition Meeting. She was a central figure in cybernetics, and she also was a participant in the 1968 American Society for Cybernetics Symposium, funded by the Macy Foundation for related work. She observed LSD experiments. She was a consultant on Abramson's LSD studies. And she was also involved in subprojects 55, 98, 56, 62, and 63. Let's see. So several Macy Cybernetics Conference attendees or affiliates later contributed to MKUltra, much like we had discussed. Let's see. Nope. Yes. Perfect. Let's see. If you want to go to slide number 9. This is a person that's going to be of some of the utmost importance. This is a man by the name of Dr. Jose Delgado. And he comes directly from Yale University. Jose Delgado was a pioneer of surgical mind control. He developed remote-controlled brain electrodes in humans and animals. He created what we call mechanical toys, and that's what he called them in his books. Cats, monkeys, all controlled by radio transmitters. He published a book called Physical Control of the Mind Toward a Psycho-Civilized Society. So he's one of the pioneers of exactly what we're seeing today. Yes, yes, he was. And he was also funded by the Office of Naval Research, the Air Force, and Public Health Services. The book is actually called, yes, Physical Control of the Mind. One of his key cases was actually an 11-year-old boy who he created brain stimulation caused gender identity confusion. Isn't that interesting? The boy later ended up saying, I was confused whether I was thinking I was a boy or a girl. There was also a 14-year-old girl with electrodes implanted in her amygdala for violent behavior after killing some foster siblings. And the idea was that they could quell violent tendencies through implanting these electrodes into their brain. Right, exactly. And mind you, these were children. They can't consent. Children cannot consent. So he was a Yale neurosurgeon, respected academic, and one of the founding fathers of what we now call the brain-computer interface. Dr. Delgado received funding from the Office of Naval Research, Air Force, Public Health Services. His work wasn't theoretical, though. In 1965, Dr. Delgado stood in a building in Spain. A massive bull charged towards him. At the last second, he pressed a button on a small radio transmitter, and the bull stopped mid-charge. Controlled by electrodes, Delgado had implanted in its brain. He called this the new neurological vista for the control of cerebral function. But Delgado's most disturbing work wasn't with animals. From his own published research, quote, in one patient, an 11-year-old boy, electrical stimulation of the superior temporal convulsion induced the appearance of feminine striving and confusion about his own sexual identity. The patient said, I was thinking whether I was a girl or a boy, which one I'd like to be, and then I'd like to be a girl. This wasn't therapy, this was proof of concept. Delgado was demonstrating that core aspects of human identity, gender, sexuality, personality itself, could be altered by electrical stimulation of specific brain regions. Now, think about this for a moment. These weren't adults who could consent to experimental surgery. These were children. The researchers were using them as test platforms for developing technologies of neural control. you want to go to the next slide. Actually, skip from 10 to 11. There are videos out there of the bull incident, so if anyone does want to see those, you can find them. You can just look them up on YouTube, Dr. Delgado, bull, and it will pull it up. Yes, ma'am. So what the MKUltra researchers discovered was revolutionary. The brain operates like a distributed computer network. Different regions handle different functions, and by stimulating specific areas, you could access and modify distinct aspects of personality and behavior. Dr. Colin Ross, who analyzed thousands of pages of MKUltra documents, identified the key insight: multiple personality disorder. What we now call dissociative identity disorder, revealed that the brain naturally operates with multiple separable processing systems. The researchers realized they could artificially create these separate programs or personalities, which was one of the main functions of MKUltra, was to be able to split your personality into an entirely separate person. Now, what's really interesting about these separate personalities is that each personality can be programmed to not know of each other, which is an entirely scary concept if you start thinking of the implications of some of these psychopaths that would have a hold of you. So think of it in modern terms. They discovered the brain runs multiple user accounts on the same hardware. Memory erasure was like formatting a hard drive. Personality implementation was like installing new software. And electrode stimulation was like having root access to the operating system. Today, we call this therapeutic deep brain stimulation. Same electrodes, same brain regions, same principles, just marketed differently. Let's see. Okay, so yes. Therapeutic deep brain stimulation. So this is actually a step past electroshock. Yeah. So, and this is my conclusion on this. So, the AI connection to all of this. The artificial intelligence revolution and the mind control research were not separate projects. They were intimately connected. MIT, which received MKUltra funding, was simultaneously developing both AI systems and theories of human consciousness as conceptual processes. Marvin Minsky, the father of artificial intelligence, was funded by the Office of Naval Research throughout his career. His seminal book, titled The Society of Mind, described human consciousness as a collection of interacting sub-processes, essentially artificial personalities running on biological hardware or human bodies. Minsky's model of mind as distributed parallel processing directly mirrors what the MKUltra researchers discovered about multiple personality disorder. The brain runs multiple programs simultaneously, and these can be accessed, modified, or replaced. The ultimate goal of all of this, of MKUltra, cybernetics, AI, the ultimate goal is stated openly in the literature, which is cybernetic organisms, cyborgs, eventually to turn us into full robots, downloading our memory into a computer program so we could live forever. Although they don't want us doing that. They want to do that. And they want to keep a few of us around so we can keep up the systems, but the people developing want to do this, not us. We're the little peons. So the ultimate goal is cybernetic organisms, hybrid biological artificial systems, where the boundary between human and machine intelligence disappears. And this is what they have been working on this entire time. Now, the ultimate conclusion, I'm going to end on a list of AI dangers and lastly, what we can actually do about this. The top dangers is AI being used in warfare. What the danger is autonomous AI weapons can make lethal decisions without human oversight, potentially leading to unintended escalations or attacks due to error or hacking. It's dangerous because the absence of human control increases the risk of civilian casualties and destabilizes global security. One of the next biggest dangers is AI surpassing human intelligence, as we discussed earlier. The danger is super intelligent AI could exceed human cognitive abilities and act unpredictably, pursuing goals that conflict with human survival if its objectives are misaligned with our own values. It's dangerous because such a system might outsmart any attempts to control it, potentially leading to humanity's obsolescence or extinction itself. The processes are an existential threat if we cannot ensure its alignment with human well-being. Security risks, hacking and manipulation, AI systems managing critical infrastructure like power grids, financial networks, or transportation can be hacked or manipulated, causing widespread disruptions. Breaches could trigger chaos such as blackouts, financial crashes, or transportation failures, threatening national security and public safety on a massive scale. Of course, the ethical concerns. AI systems trained on biased data or designed without ethical oversight can perpetuate societal inequalities such as unfair loan denials or discriminatory policing practices. Obviously, this is dangerous because it amplifies the systemic injustice, like actual systemic injustice to all of us. This erodes trust in institutions and violates human rights. There's societal impacts. AI-driven automation can displace workers across industries, leading to mass unemployment and economic inequality if societies fail to adapt. Widespread job loss could destabilize economies, increasing poverty and spark social unrest. AI being used to manipulate public opinion or create deepfakes. AI can produce realistic deepfakes or power disinformation campaigns to influence elections, defame individuals, or sow division. This undermines trust in media and institutions, which I don't trust the media. I don't think anyone else here does either. This weakens democracy, polarizes societies by blurring the line between truth and fiction. Now, the two things that I think make this the most dangerous is the dangerous impact of AI on privacy. The danger is that AI-powered surveillance systems can monitor and track individuals on an unprecedented scale, collecting vast amounts of personal data without consent. Technologies like facial recognition, predictive policing, and social credit systems enable the intrusion. This is dangerous because the loss of privacy, constant monitoring creates a chilling effect where people self-censor their speech, actions, or associations out of fear of being watched or judged. This stifles free expression and the ability to dissent. Let's see. AI can enforce conformity and predict and punish actions before they happen, undermining personal autonomy and the presumption of innocence. For example, social credit systems could penalize individuals for undesirable behavior. And who decides that? Who decides what's undesirable? You? Me? The erosion of freedom. Mass surveillance empowers authoritarian control, allowing governments and corporations to manipulate or to manipulate individuals based on their data. This threatens democratic values and individual rights, potentially leading to a surveillance state where liberty is traded for supposed security. Now the question is what do we do about all of this? Well, you've got to ask yourself that. And this is up to you to decide how far or what you're willing to do. What matters most to you? Do your rights actually matter? Do some matter and others don't? That's all up for you to decide, you and your family. You need to have these conversations. Now, there are things that we can do. There are people out there fighting back against this. There are technologies being built that actually fight back against this, because not everyone wants this future. I can't imagine any of you in this building right now would want a future where we're constantly monitored, where we have brain chips implanted in us, we're told what to do, where your children are not your children because they're owned by the state. I can't imagine this is the future that anyone wants. So the best thing for any tyrannical action is civil disobedience. Now, that doesn't mean violent by any means. Peace should always be the number one option, right? Hate begets hate. So, and besides, the state knows how to respond to violence. They are violence. So we have to answer to this in a peaceful manner. Now, I'm not a huge fan of people like Gandhi or MLK Jr., but they did have the nonviolent thing under, or they really had it figured out, I would say, because this is how we have to respond to all of this. And the best way that we can do that is just, like Jen said earlier, don't comply. They can't harm all of us. And the more of us that don't comply, what are they going to do? Force it on us? They can't. We have numbers. So that's the number one thing. Now, as far as specifics, as far as what technologies, we kind of don't have time to go into a lot of that today, but I'd be more than willing to talk to anybody about mesh networks, which are basically private cell phone networks and private internet to be able to send communications and all sorts of information in between people. These are things that we can set up in what's called Liberty Enclaves. This group right here would set up their own. You would have one in the next county, and both of those can communicate. Basically, what I'm trying to say is we just don't participate. That is the easiest way. Now, it's not going to be easy, but this is what we have to do. Because what's the alternative? Slavery. Now, I take a pretty radical position on this, and this is where I'll end. I am of the mind that I'll die on my feet before I live on my knees. Everyone might not feel the exact same way, but all of us together in numbers, we can actually defeat this. But it takes all of us doing this. So really, things like this, I love seeing this, and I want to thank all of you for having me here and listening to me drone on about all of these things, because this is actually what's going to make a difference. So on that, of course.
Are definitely being monitored. There was a time in my life a few years back when I wanted to block certain people from using Facebook as a dating site and hitting on me.
Right.
Instead of just like friend requesting, but they were like, so I put that I was married. And they literally showed up at the door to check to see if I was really married, because I was on medicated at the time. I was a single mom, and they wanted to make sure I still qualified for Medicaid.
Right.
Print out of my Facebook page with my status change.
Right.
Oh my God.
So these are tracking devices. These are the implants that will eventually get implanted into us. But right now, we're willingly carrying around our own surveillance devices. So keep that in mind. Yes.
You just laid out are already happening.
Yes.
In fact, just this week, there was a massive AI cyber attack of dozens of companies to steal our data.
Yes. Yes, it happens all the time. Data leaks happen all the time. And unfortunately, this is just one of the things that we have to deal with if we're going to participate in the digital world. Yes, sir.
The liberals, progressives have been doing it for decades before AI.
Yes. Yes. Well, and I am of the mind, you have people who are for liberty, and you have people that are for slavery. I don't really look at it left and right these days, you know, especially after trying to run for office and all of these other things. And you're either for liberty, for freedom, or you're for slavery. And right now, the current system that we have, if you're backing it up, you're backing up slavery. So thank you all for listening to this. If you guys have any questions or want to talk or anything else, I'd be more than willing to talk to anybody. And there's a lot more info I couldn't get to tonight, but thank you so much.
Okay, I have just a couple of thoughts. Wow, an EMP never has seemed so providential, right? No, that's not true, though. I've been reading the 1 minute after and the 1 year after. We don't want an EMP. Okay, so, you know, this information is not the easiest kind of information to hear. But, you know, John 8:32 says, if you shall know the truth and the truth shall make you free. And so the more information we have, the more ability we have to resist, the more empowered we are to not participate in things that can actually restrict our freedoms. And I've just been, as I've been listening and trying, because I know God is more powerful than Satan. And so I've been thinking of some of the things that I know are His word that helps us understand how to understand what we just heard. And I'll tell you, the last few weeks, I became a friend with someone who is actually an MK Ultra victim. And she tells me that she was healed through Jesus Christ. So we know that Christ is more powerful than what we've been hearing. So just a few other thoughts. God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. We know that there are secret combinations that I'm just going to read what this says right here. Whatsoever nation shall uphold such secret combinations to get power and gain until they spread over the nation, behold, they shall be destroyed. And I show you these things that you may repent of your sins and suffer not these murderous combinations to get above you and awake to your sense of your awful situation because of these secret combinations which shall be among you that seek to overthrow the freedom of all lands, nations, countries, and it bringeth to pass the destruction of all people. And then one other scripture in my core book that I found interesting, it says, for there are many yet on the earth who are blinded by the subtle craftiness of men whereby they lie in wait to deceive and are wholly kept from the truth because they know not where to find it. Therefore that we should waste and wear out our lives in bringing to light all the hidden things of darkness wherein we know them. And these shall truly be manifest from heaven and should be attended to with great earnestness. And finally, Thomas Paine, who said, those who expect to reap the blessings of freedom must undergo the fatigue of supporting it. So there's no free pass. It's not easy. It's not meant to be easy. It's meant to be a test. It's meant for us to prove ourselves. And how can we ever stand in front of those who have literally given everything in history to fight for the same cause? So thank you for coming. But I want to tell you our next event, which will be on September 11th, 9/11. We will have Dr. Kirk Moore, who is a perfect example of what we've been talking about tonight, which is to not comply, to resist. If you don't know who he is, you definitely want to be here. And we will also have another gentleman, is it DJ or CJ? I can never remember the Searcy. He is an Army helicopter pilot who they tried to force out of the military because he refused to get the COVID shot. So he's going to be here as well. So it'll be a very interesting night. Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that is exactly right. So thank you for Dave. Interesting. And that was another thought I was having about, some different people that you just never know. He was saying the Unabomber was a victim of MK Ultra. So, the shooter that just went into the Catholic Church in Michigan, who knows? He was transgender, right? Yeah, yeah, and who knows what other things going on that they want us to look over here and not over here. So, all those kind of things are happening. So the best we can do is make sure we repent of our sins, we're following God, and we ask him to open our eyes to see the things that we need to see. So thank you for coming. If we could all go out of the building and talk out in the parking lot. So these wonderful people, thank you so much for taking care of our AV tonight and for this building. We so appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.